Okay, this is week number 2. So this is the second part of our two-parter series around intimacy and ADHD and what that actually means. And I got to interview my bestie best. So let's get into it. Now, before we wrap up with a closing thought, I have something fun planned, and I thought it would be really insightful and, let's face it, like deadly entertaining to put my partner in the hot seat for a moment. So I am going to ask my partner a few lighthearted questions about what it's like being in a relationship with moi, a late diagnosed ADHD woman. And the goal was to get an honest perspective and also to show that it's okay to talk about these differences openly. And maybe we'll get in a laugh or two out of it. So here are some of the fun interview questions I posed to my partner. Feel free to borrow these to spark dialogue in your own relationship. And as a quick caveat, I wanted to share that every Sunday since we've started dating, we ask each other what is called Sunday questions, and they can be hard, they can be fun, they could be cute, they could be whatever, but we have to ask each other a series of questions and we have to answer honestly, and we kind of go from there. And we've learned a lot about each other over, this duration of dating each other, and it's just been so fun and so lovely, and I've really enjoyed it. So we're going to head into that now.
Hello, Nicola.
How do we know each other?
You're my girlfriend.
Thank God for that. I have a couple of questions for you today.
Okay.
And the first one's going to be, how do you remember, if you can cast your mind back, do you remember how we started Question Sunday?
You started it.
Mm-hmm. And what is it essentially? What is Question Sunday?
It's a way to keep things interesting, keep them surprising, keep learning about each other, and generally a good way to keep talking about us.
We are quite cute though.
Yeah.
I think Question Sunday probably helped a little bit with that, because
Okay.
we are ridiculously cute. So I'm going to start off with some easy questions for you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get into some grittier questions.
So is this Question Sunday?
This is Question Sunday,
Okay.
but from a different perspective. So I don't necessarily have to answer them unless you want me to.
Okay. All right.
Because the usual rule with Question Sunday is that we both answer the question.
That's right. So these are just questions for me.
But I can answer them as well for the easy ones.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready? Because you haven't had any idea around what the questions are going to be.
No, I've got no idea.
And you wanted to be surprised.
I don't know if I wanted to be surprised. I think you said I was going to be surprised. I think you ordered me to be surprised.
You're going to be surprised. This is the end of this conversation.
Okay, go on.
No, there's no surprising questions. When do you feel closest to me?
I think when we have our own space, when we're not stressed, when we don't have a lot of obligations, and we are able to carve out our own time in our own little bubble with each other. Time, good quality time, not just getting stuff done time.
I also think when we steal time from obligation time, or like chore time or something, and then we can kind of steal like little moments away.
Yep, or like the joy of cancelled plans.
Love a cancelled plan. What's something small I do that makes you feel loved?
I think you're very good at doing lots of things to make you feel loved. You're really good at remembering little small things. Like I'll say that I'd like some sauce or something, and then the next time there's a bottle of the sauce in the kitchen, you're like, oh, I remembered you like that sauce, I got you that sauce. So little things like that. Yeah.
What is it like, or how has being in a relationship with someone neurodivergent changed how you think about intimacy?
I'm not sure it has. I think I definitely have to stop myself from assuming that my first guess at how you're feeling or how we're doing is correct. We've had this conversation before about just because you're acting a certain way or behaving a certain way, or like just because your face looks a particular way, it doesn't mean you're annoyed at me, or it doesn't mean that you're upset with the relationship. It can be just that you've stopped performing. The mask's not there anymore. So to me, that looks like, if I'm reading your face, it initially looks like, you're grumpy, or you're angry, or you're disinterested, or something like that. But I now realise, after being with you for a wee while, that that's not the case, or it's not always the case. So we've developed a code, haven't we, for
I spoke about the code earlier in the video as well, around the bullet points.
The bullet points, yeah. And that's quite a useful shortcut to, is this
an issue?
Is this, is the way that you the way that you look, the way that you're like presenting, is that what I think it is, or are you just
not pretending?
Have you just switched off your
power down?
Yeah. That's switched off public Nikki.
Because you've kind of come on the neurodivergent journey with me. Do you think prior to that, prior to a diagnosis, do you think you would have naturally called that I was neurospicy?
I mean, I don't think I knew very much about autism at all. I think I had an idea of what, I knew that autism was spectrum, and, people can go from being very high functioning and high, normal, in quotes, presenting, to, needing 24-hour care. And someone can fall anywhere on that. I kind of was aware of that, but I don't think I would have known what to look out for. There's definitely something quirky about you. It's definitely something like, non-typical about you. And I suppose I would have put you in the kind of the same category as, nerds.
Eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric nerds. And I don't mean that as a, I mean that in an affectionate way. So
thanks.
Yeah. So,
what do you think we do really well together that other couples might not understand?
Not fight. We have arguments, but they're very much characterised by what are the logical steps we need to do to resolve this thing, and
quickly, effectively, and without floof.
Yeah. So obviously we have disagreements, and sometimes I'm sure we feel tension or anger with each other, but I feel like we're, like we've said, if friends of ours, like, oh, you must fight then, mustn't you? But there's the fighting's not like
venomous.
It's not. There's almost no emotion in it. It's like okay, there's an issue here. These are the options for fixing it.
We can work this out.
We can work this out. Yeah, and that's worked so far.
That felt like a threat. So far. Better get that fighting stance ready.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one of the weirder or kind of most me thing I do that makes you laugh?
You know what it is.
Do I?
It's the being scared. It's the jumping.
It's so bad.
So I've
like
started.
It's progressed though.
I've started when I come down the stairs to our bedroom. I've started when I'm at the top of the stairs. I'll start humming. It's me, Nikki. It's Matt. I'm coming down the stairs. I'm on my way down the stairs. So there's no surprise. I do it when I suspect you might be sat in your office, and I'm coming up the front path. And I know that if my head just like pops up above the window when you're working, that you'll jump a mile. So I've started going, it's me, Nikki, your boyfriend's home.
It's so bad. But I feel like it's progressed as well. Like it used to be like a shrill scream,
Yeah.
Where now it's like progressed into like an electrocution. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
But the problem is it's absolutely hilarious though. That's the funniest thing.
Oh my god! And I wish it was something that I could control. Like I wish it was something that where if I saw you, I had like a split second to be like, oh no, it's you. But there is something broken between here and there.
Is that an autism thing?
I don't know, a South African thing. I wonder if it's a bit of both. No, I think it's a combination of things. I think for me particularly, I think it's a combination of it's in your DNA if you're South African to be terrified of anything that jumps out because everything can kill you. So A. B, I think it's like that hypervigilance that comes from having maybe not great parents. You know, you're always like on guard, so like everything is really stressful. And then I think also because I have a lack of like spatial aware, like proprioception.
I think that's where your body is in
space. Yeah, like you don't like, and then when something is just in your periphery, you get startled by it quite easily because you're just hyper vigilant anyway. So I think it's like a triad of doom is what I'm going to call it.
Right.
I'm just that triad of doom TM.
Whatever it is, it's hilarious.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Wow. Oh wow, that's just so much joy. Oh, so much joy. Okay, so I'm curious to know, what is the moment when you looked at me and thought, yep, this person is full chaos, I love them?
It's full chaos. Or I love you. Which one?
Both. Did it come together? I don't think I'm actually that chaotic though.
No, you're quite organised.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm trying to find a polite way to put it. Like,
militant is what I feel you were going for there.
Just organised, just very well organised. So although like cupboard tidies and storage solutions and everything's got a, if something, it doesn't have a little clear plastic box that it fits in, you've got to run out to Kmart straight away and find a little plastic box for it to fit in.
Sometimes wooden, not always
sometimes wooden, yeah. What was the question?
When did you work out that you loved me because I'm just like a loose cannon of disaster?
I don't know. Early, for sure. But I think there's a lot of things I appreciate about you, like, you know, your where is it radar. So, you know, if I can't find my hat, for instance, like, Nikki, where's my black cap? And you kind of go, ooh, downstairs in the cupboard 3 centimetres to the left of the remote control or something like that. But I don't love you for that.
Yes, you do. It's a skill.
I love you for the whole package.
One of which is like a human metal detector of things.
Yeah.
What is something I've taught you about emotional connection or intimacy that you didn't expect?
I do genuinely feel that your love is unconditional. And that's a really beautiful thing to feel. You know, I genuinely feel like if I, you know, got into a terrible accident and horribly burned my face, or, you know, lost my dick or something like that, that you'd...
We'd have words though. We'd have words.
That you'd still be there.
There'd be bullet points.
There'd be bullet points, yeah.
Yes, but it's the same with you, right? Like I wouldn't just leave you because your dick fell off.
I probably want to know why that happened.
Yeah, and then I'd like to know, like, what are we left with? What have we got? Like a little nub? Like, where are we at? What does the science say about your nub?
Is this what you wanted from an interview?
Science about nubs? Sure.
Yeah, and that's a really safe feeling.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Even though I do think you're going to break up with me on the daily.
You're wrong, but
Wrong. All right. What's a way we've grown as a couple that makes you proud of us?
I mean, we've been through quite a lot of stressful things, like, you know, moving house, combining families, you know, with children who, you know, who can clash, and I feel like none of those things have dented how we feel about each other and how we behave towards each other, or, you know, we don't snap at each other.
If it's someone snapping, it's usually me.
I feel like your snapping is very low grade snapping, even if it happens. You know, we never really
snap quite ugly in the car the other day.
Oh, that was one time.
That wasn't great.
You know, we don't really raise our voices with each other, or so I think having been through, you know, I know that there are more stressful things that people can go through. You know, I'm sure we've got more stressful things coming, but I'm heartened by the way that we deal with it with each other.
We also got lost in that train station that one time. I think we both snapped at each other at that point.
Oh, yeah.
That train station was awful.
In Japan?
Yeah. That one that, like, essentially ate us.
Yeah.
And then spat us out somewhere, and we were just
yeah.
like, it was like a Mobius loop.
Yeah. That's right.
It was terrifying.
And didn't we come out in a shopping centre somewhere?
And we got lost in the shopping centre.
Not even like in a shopping bit, like in a back corridor in a shopping centre. It's bizarre.
And we were hungry.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what did it. Hunger.
Especially for you. Like, now I've worked out that my hungriness is like a delayed response, perhaps.
Yeah.
Does it frustrate you that I forget to eat?
Oh, it doesn't frustrate me so much as, like, I worry about you.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Like, you need to eat meals. That's what humans need to do.
It's bonkers. That's a crazy town. That's crazy town talk. All right. I feel like this has got an obvious answer to it. All right. Is which one of us is more likely to start a deep conversation at the worst possible time?
Does it have an obvious answer?
Oh, for sure. How many times have you started, like, unwinding in bed and I'm like, okay, let's have a chat?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Let me tell you about my 37 different business ideas.
That's true. Usually when I've, like, just got my head into a book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not like the worst possible moment. That's just slightly inconvenient for my,
Yeah.
you know, for my relaxing and unwinding.
If you had to describe the 5 love languages of people with autism or ADHD, what do you think they would be? If you had to invent them for yourself, essentially.
Okay, so I would say that info dumping is definitely one of the languages of love for a autistic person like yourself.
And Quinn.
And Quinn. Oh yeah, Quinn's definitely info dumping.
He loves an info dump.
He does, and I feel like that's often his way of connecting. So I sometimes do have to bite my tongue a little bit when it's not the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes his info dumps are interesting though.
Or we don't believe him because they sound so bonkers.
Or we don't believe him, and then we're proved wrong.
Because we're terrible, terrible, terrible.
Well, it's just more that, you know, he knows, he just comes out with these things that are just
so left field.
Yeah, and you're just like, that can't be true, and then you look it up and it's true. Or sometimes he gets it slightly off. So the thing he tells you is true, but with a caveat or two.
Oh, fair.
So that's one of your sort of info dumping. I'm not sure I can come up with 5.
That's okay. What do you see the most of?
Info dumping. I think unmasking. So I think it's, you know, when that makes me think you feel safe with me, which is a love, expression of love.
I feel like in my mind though, like unmasking must be so challenging as a partner, because I know in my brain's essentially like, you know, when you've got to like wake your computer up because it goes into like sleep mode, it goes into like that like weird black mode. I feel like that's what your brain does. It just kind of like I can only do one thing right now. That must be so frustrating though, because you've got like, I don't know, I feel like it would be frustrating for you.
I don't know if it's frustrating. I guess you get used to people, especially partners, responding to you and interacting with you in a certain way, and it just takes a while to learn that there are other ways of interacting with people, and there are other ways of responding to people. And you know, if you respond to me with zero emotion in your voice, or in a very flat way, that doesn't mean that you're disinterested. It doesn't mean that you're annoyed with me. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, it's just that you haven't remembered to put in the intonation,
or the energy has now like drained from doing something that I wasn't expecting. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, last question, are you ready? I find this question really interesting, but because I think that you've got neurospicy traits.
I know you do.
Right. So this question is kind of like contradictory to that, I would say. So if you could give other neurotypical partners one piece of advice about being with or loving someone with AuDHD, what would it be?
Oh, I think that there are bonuses to dating people with neurodivergence.
Yeah.
I think or at least like I'm only speaking from this very limited personal experience. I can't say this is, you know,
all the people ever.
But certainly there's no trying to work out what you're thinking. There's no trying to work out what you're feeling. There's no like trying to, you know, there's that stereotype which has some truth to it that, you know, you've kind of got to guess what your partner's feeling or what they're really thinking from little secret mysterious cues, not from what they actually say out loud. But with you, I feel like if I ask you how you're feeling or what you think about a certain thing, you're just going to tell me straight up, and I don't have to spend half an hour guessing what the right answer is.
It says what it is on the box.
If I ask you, are you upset or annoyed about something, and you say, no, I'm not upset or annoyed about something, then I can say, okay, well I can be pretty sure that that's the truth. And I'm not going to, you know, an hour later, you're not going to say, why didn't you notice that something was wrong? And that's quite a relief. It's quite nice just to have
clarity.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions for me?
What's the purpose of this interview?
What is the purpose? That is a great question. So my video this week is about like the science behind intimacy and relationships, and what that actually looks like for when you are neurotypical with either autistic or ADHD partner, or if it's someone with AuDHD, because when you kind of break down kind of the three, each one has its own unique kind of traits and kind of idiosyncrasies. What's the word I'm looking for there?
Idiosyncrasies.
That's the one. And you know, you look at autism and you look at ADHD, and they come with these really cool, you know, pros and cons. But then you've got obviously AuDHD, which kind of brings together some elements from both, which can feel really conflicting and really confusing. And there was a lot of kind of research that I shared around pebbling as well. I don't know if you've heard of pebbling. Yep. So pebbling's a good one for a love language, because you just like, that would be like your sauce in the fridge. Or sending you, you know, hilarious reels or something. Yeah, and I spoke about like the impact of rejection sensitivity, especially for ADHD, and what that could look like potentially. And I also spoke about, you know, with autism, we obviously spoke about sex as well, and how with autism, you know, you've got, you know, sensory issues going on, you know, libido fluctuations as well. Science is quite specific around that too. So yeah, it's been a whole episode about relationships, intimacy, sex, yeah, all the things.
Cool.
Yeah, I did. I had a big deep dive into it, and thought what a great opportunity to ask someone other than me what it would be like to date someone who is a silly ADHD banana.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming to my pre-TED Talk.
No worries.
So, to wrap up, I want you to remember this. Neurodivergent relationships are not defined by their challenges, but how you grow together through them. Autism, ADHD, AuDHD, these are just parts of who you are. They make your relationship different, yes, but different can also be beautiful. And with that understanding and patience and dash of creativity, you can cultivate incredible intimacy, the kind where you both feel seen and heard and adored for who you really are. The research we discussed shows that while we might hit more bumps on the road, we also love with great passion and authenticity. So thank you so much for spending time with me today and diving into this topic. I hope you're walking away with some new insights, practical tips, and maybe a smile or two. And if this video spoke to you, please like and subscribe so we can keep growing this neurodivergent community. And don't forget to download your freebie. The link is waiting for you in the description. Use those affirmations to remind yourselves daily that your relationship is awesome in its own unique way. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey to understand neurodiverse love. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you in the community. Check out the other videos popping up here on the end screen for more tips and tricks around living your neurodivergent life to the fullest, and grab the free affirmations download. Drop a comment about what topic you'd like to see next, and remember, different brains, same love. You got this. Take beautiful care, my neurofabulous friends, and I'll see you next week.